Welcome back. My name is Matt Reiners, and I'm the co-founder of Eversound, a company dedicated to improving quality of life for older adults by giving them the gift of hearing. Today, I'm joined by Sevy Petras, CEO of Priority Life Care. I've gotten to become friends with Sevy over the years. Her warm nature and good vibes light up any room that she walks into. And I think the first thing I ever said to her when we had a one-on-one meeting, which I'm not sure if she remembers or not, was something to the effect of, "Your energy is amazing." So thanks for joining me today, Sevy.
Oh my goodness. This is 100% my honor to be on here. And your energy is equally amazing, which is why right out of the gate, we became friends.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And so Sevy, the question that's been on my mind since the day we've met that I've never mustered the courage to ask, and I'm pretty sure the question everybody else is dying to know, because I know your brother's your COO, your mother's your curator of corporate soul, which I love that name, by the way.
Thank you.
And your sister-in-law is your national director of sales and marketing. So do you guys talk business over your holiday meals?
We talk business all the time, of course, over the holiday meals. My mom is actually here right now. And we were on a call till kind of like late in the evening while everybody was kind of having dinner. But yeah, we totally do. In fact, on my one of my niece's baptisms, my brother literally said, "Hey," Bobby said, "Hey guys, like this is a special day for the family. Let's not talk any business." And we were like, "Oh, okay, no big deal. We won't talk any business." And he pulls me and my mom and Brandy into the kitchen. He's like, "Hey, I need you guys in here for a second." He goes, "Hey, I know we said we weren't going to talk any business. Can we just talk about this for a second?" And we all just started busting out laughing. And that was kind of the last time that we tried to say, "Oh, we're not going to talk about business at family stuff." And honestly, when some other family people around, like my husband, obviously he's been around for eight years now. And other kind of aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever that kind of get around, at first, they're kind of annoyed by it, I think. But then everybody just kind of goes along with it. Like, "Oh yeah, they're just going to throw this in randomly because they got a text message," or my mom had to go off and take a phone call, or Brandy just got exciting news about a move-in that one of our communities and, had really been working on. So it's just now we're into our 12th year of wow. Operating. Yeah. We're in our 12th year of operating. And so it's really just become second nature. And, obviously there were some bumps along the way at the beginning, but we totally talk about work all the time.
I love it. Hey, I kind of live in the same boat too. And, as we're speaking of that family dynamic, I know you've got two little ones, which are so cute. And I'm curious, as I'm a relatively new father myself, and you've been super kind and just offering advice, but how do you balance being that CEO while also being a mom?
Some days are better than others. Honestly, I had to run out for an appointment this afternoon. And when I came back, my son was he's almost 3, Ren, super excited to see me, but I had a 2:00 Zoom I had to be on, and then I had to be ready for our podcast together. And so he was really sad, and he was hugging me, and I'm like, "You go have fun while mommy works." And he's hugging me, and he's like, "I don't want to have fun. I want to help you." And sometimes I really do. And anybody who's been on, Zooms with me, my son will sometimes sit with me and color while I'm on a Zoom. And my daughter sometimes would be sitting in her little, bouncy thing next to me. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. And, having to travel and be at communities and be with our teams, it's, I try to explain to him as much as I can from the beginning that I know it's not easy to share mommy, but that's part of what we do. And other people need mommy too. And mommy has an important job and responsibilities to other people. And not just to him, but that he's really, lucky. He has all these other people that, are here to help take care of him. In particular, my husband, who stays, he really is kind of like their primary caregiver, particularly because I have to travel a lot. And, now that COVID is a thing of what we're just dealing with, I wasn't traveling when I was pregnant for my daughter. So I was home a lot. And now all of those things of, dynamics have changed. And honestly, I have a really great support system of other working moms, obviously, and other great working dads like yourself that, you can reach out to. And, there's always the occasional glass of wine at the end of the day that helps take some of the guilty burdens away.
Hey,
And my husband,
absolutely.
I mean, honestly, I really honestly wouldn't be able to do any of it. And I'm sure that's the same for you. You know, the guilt that you feel as a parent for being gone or away. And even it's probably, I think, harder to work at home because like you see your kid over there and they see that you're home, but you can't play with them. You know, I think that's actually an additional, you know, parent guilt. But your spouse understanding, you know, you having to be away and your spouse understanding and not, you know, making you feel extra guilt, even more guilty for, you know, them picking up the slack is he's been, I mean, I couldn't do it without Felipe.
Yeah. And you know what they say, right? It takes a village. And we definitely have done that. I know with upcoming travel, we've got friends coming over because in addition to my wife and I both working full time, she's also getting her MBA in the evening. So we're
What a
really getting it after it over here in the Reiners
what a rock
household.
star, total rock
Yeah.
star. Yeah, kudos to her. That's amazing.
Yeah. And, you know, I think, Sevy, as long as I've known you, that we would agree that culture is key. And I loved everyone that I've met from your team. And I know, you know, Priority Life Care has grown a lot over the last few years, you know, and I know you've got this family business and this family business culture, but how do you keep that while you're scaling up your company?
You know, it's a really great question, and I honestly have to say, part of our guiding principles and our family culture that we feel is so important to our success and growth is having really good vendor partners like yourselves. Like, and I truly mean this. Like, I'm not just saying this to try to shamelessly plug something in, but we have it kind of, as Bobby would say, it's kind of like a no a-hole policy. So it's really important that the people that we work with, that, you know, we're only one portion of the solution to providing care and services to our residents and their families. And, you know, part of that is the licensing at the community. And there's all these different pieces that we have to coordinate together to make it all work. Right. So vendorship partners like yourself with Eversound, if we didn't have those types of relationships, and that goes with our insurance provider and that goes with our pharmacy provider, like those are so important, and the ability to communicate and make sure that we're all coming to the right solution for our families and our staff and our residents. I mean, you got to put your ego aside. And I think that that's the key to any good relationship, right? Whether it's a business relationship or it's your family dynamics or it's a friendship, you know, at some point you have to put your own ego aside and forget about who's getting, you know, the credit for it and really work to the solution that works for the individual. I think that's part of what has kept our culture solidified, particularly through COVID. Are we perfect? Of course we're not. Point to one family anywhere that is, or organization for that matter. But I think the key is that, you know, we try to always find better ways to communicate together and come up with solutions versus pointing fingers. Like, do sometimes people lose their cool and, you know, we could have done things better? Sure, everybody has those days. But the key, I think, is picking it up, apologizing, you know, for maybe not communicating something appropriately or dropping a ball somewhere, but it's about having that open communication and at the end of the day saying, hey, we're all trying to work together for the best solution for everybody. And sometimes we're not the solution. And that's an okay solution too. And I think that's really what has driven our culture, personally, as well as, you know, from a business perspective that we really work towards.
Yeah. And I think what really resonated with me when you said that no a-hole policy, which is just so true, right? I mean, it's in every relationship, even a friend. I mean, even just an acquaintance, like you don't want to deal with those people one way or another. It's just not fun and just causes more headaches.
It really, and it's just not necessary. I mean, we all have choices, and it's not, and if we are the people that are in charge of selecting our partnerships from a business perspective, and we're willing to subject our teams and the people that are out there, you know, struggling every day to figure out these pieces, and we say, no, you have to work with this company, like this is what it is, and they're like total a-holes to the people that are, you know, trying to get this stuff done. That is just not going to work with us.
Yeah. I mean, you guys almost become a filter to the people that are working with your communities and then with your residents. And yeah, you don't want to approve or sign off on somebody that, you know, won't go above and beyond and really try and help you guys.
Exactly.
And I know in the other podcast that you were recently on, you mentioned, what you're doing to make lives easier, especially for your team. And it's great to hear that you guys are being proactive and talking about this. But where do you think as an industry we can be better to help support some of our frontline staff and heroes there?
It's such a great question. And it's literally one of the things that keeps me up at night. As the world has turned to, working from home and remote work, it's not an option that we're able to give to our caregivers, our dietary staff, our, the business office. Like, there's just not an option at the community. Like, we run a business that that functions, a house that functions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's gotta keep happening. So, some of the ways, obviously pay is just one portion of it. Like, obviously 100%, do we have to pay people, fair and competent wages? We do. I think it's really important that we're able to provide, fair and affordable and benefits to some degree. That's not always at our control, unfortunately. Those costs are completely controlled by a massive machine that we're all kind of subjected to, and every year it just goes up and up and up. Like, it's just insane. But I think some of the ways that we're really trying to find and be creative, and I think that as an industry, we need to keep looking for these types of solutions is, I mean, honestly, like, Eversound's kind of one of them. It's like, well, if you can't hear things, you're not going to be able to enjoy that. Like, it's something that you do every day. You listen, this is part of our everyday experience. And that was like one of the reasons why I was really excited about this partnership that we have with Joe and Bella, which is this adaptive clothing wear. It's like, okay, it's something that everybody does every day. Literally everybody, they put their pants on the same as everybody else. But, as we age, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And if there are things if there are simple tools that we can give our residents, our families, and our staff at the communities of things that they're already doing, those are what are going to improve the work environment and the workload, as well as the resident experience in general, and how they feel about themselves. And we have to be, I think, thinking a lot more creatively for solutions like that versus very, very difficult to implement, type of technology where it's so much additional work for somebody who's already overloaded in what they're trying to give to somebody.
Yeah, no, I think it's such an important topic, right? And I think too, there's been a lot of emphasis around the frontline staff and the heroes working in the communities, and understandably and rightfully so. But on the other side of that, because there's also other players in the senior living, on the provider side, right? There's regionals, there's home office teams. Do you think we should be doing anything different else to try and support those parts of the team?
Mm-hmm. That is really, so one of the things I know we do, particularly for them, you're on 24/7, especially when you're a regional, whether it's clinical, operational, dietary, like, you name it, you're on 24/7. And if there's an issue in one of your communities, you have to get there as soon as you possibly can. And a lot of times, like, what our regionals did during COVID is they would go and provide the relief so that, the executive director or the director of nursing or the dietary director could actually go home for a night. And not serve food because they were down people, or not, work the rounds and delivering meds in a timely manner. So, some of the things that we have tried to do and just implemented is that we don't have any set vacation. So they can take as much or as little vacation as they want. And that is, so it's like, hey, if you don't need to be at a community for the next 3 days, obviously there's an emergency, you got to do it. And you want to work from, Hawaii, go work from Hawaii. If you want to go skiing and, you've got your stuff all covered, like, go take 3 days with your family. One of the biggest things that we always say is, when you're with your family, be with your family. Obviously there's an emergency, you got to take a call, but don't be on a call and, trying to help with your kids' homework. Like, finish your call and then dedicate that time to your kids. And like one of my big pet peeves is do not text and drive, do not email and drive. Like there is nothing that is so important that it can't wait for you to get to where you're going. Like your health and your safety is number one. So making sure, like Bobby has done a really, really good job of doing these weekly one-on-ones. They're kind of check-ins with the regionals and making sure that they're taking some time for themselves, because we're starting to see the same thing, is that they were getting the same burnout that our community leaders were getting, because they were trying so hard to also, be there to support them. And we had to say, hey, you gotta take that time. So implementing like, you don't have any set vacation time was one of the things that we tried to do to say, hey, like, you don't need to be somewhere, like take the time. You can work from home, like it's up to you. But if you want to go on spring break and take that time to, take your calls and your emails from there, like do it. Like,
yeah, it's such an important piece. I think, promoting that people can take the time they need to kind of recharge. It's so important. And it's something we've learned as well that, definitely people get burnt out. Right. And I think too, working from home, there's not a clear like stop point. So it's like, I just come downstairs, come into my office, and it's just like, I don't know when to ever turn it off. And, definitely have experienced burnout myself. So taking that time to recharge, disconnect, and be outside is always great.
Well, and I think as a leader, you have to require it. Like you have to say, you don't need to go there. Why don't you let this person handle it? Like they're more than capable of handling it. You take a little bit of a break, because everybody thinks too that it's like so glamorous to travel for work. And I'm not complaining. Like it's great. Like I've been to some not cool places too, but it's like, you're away from your family, and then you have, there's all this extra, you got to like prepare for this and you have to take that. And then you're dealing with weather delays and pilots not showing up and, all the same stuff that, everyone, it's their job too. So while it seems like it's very glamorous for people who work just every single day in the same office, it can be a bit of a burden as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have experienced that with the travel. And, my wife was going to come with me to a show, and I explained to her, I'm like, look, I'm up at 5 and I don't go to bed until 11 and I'm working the entire time. Like, I wish I could spend time with you, but it's not a vacation. Absolutely.
And it sounds super fun because we're like at cocktails and we're at dinners and we're at this happy hour and we're at these appetizers and stuff, but you're on 100% of the time, 100% of the time. And somebody wants to talk to you or catch up with you or do this or do that. And you want to talk to everybody, especially for, when you're at these conferences, the vendors, you guys pay like so much money to be in front of us. And, you want to be mindful of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sevy, my last question to you, if you could give other senior living providers just like 3 guiding principles or ideas as they go through the next year, what would you say?
So my first one would say to collaborate with other operators, like collaborate with your peers, and find some friends in the industry that you can share best practices with. Because if there was anything positive that happened from COVID in our industry in particular, is that I felt that there was a loosening of the purse strings when it came to information sharing. And so many times, I think everybody was always so afraid to like give away their secret sauce, where as an industry, I think it's really important, especially as we forge ahead past into what is the new normal with living with COVID, as a society, and the fact that we have all of these people, coming up through the generation of our baby boomers who are going to be in need of our services. And those services aren't a one size fits all, like there's a place at the table for all of us. And the more collaborative I think we are as an industry, the more we're going to be able to serve this population rather than like just a certain slice of it. So I would absolutely say collaborate with other operators, find some friends that you know and trust. And maybe they're not direct competitors of yours in some way, shape, or form, but find them and share your best practices. It will only benefit you and the industry. The second one would be more creative. Don't be afraid to think outside of what we have been doing or have always done. I think we have become a little bit archaic in that. I think that we need to be more inclusive as an industry. I think we need to see more minorities in C-suites and leadership positions. We need to see more women who have started in our caregiving positions and shown a true course up the corporate ladder into like real management and ownership levels. The 85 to 90, 85%, I think almost 90% of the majority of the people working in our communities are women. And a lot of them also 50 to 60% of them are minority women, and they are not represented when you go to the conferences and look at our C-suites and in a lot of our management positions. So I would urge our industry to be creative. And then third, I would say get involved with our associations, like get involved with Argentum, get involved with ASHA, participate in those fly-ins where, they're putting you in front of the politicians and making sure that we're educating the Hill and Washington, as well as all of your state constituents about who we are, what we do, and how essential the work is that we're providing to our seniors. And in many, many cases, some of the most vulnerable of our seniors. And I think that the more we as an industry participate in this, the more people are going to really understand what it is that we provide, instead of us getting lumped into, other healthcare sectors, which is it's very different what we do. And it is an option that needs to continue to be available, and in some regards, even more affordable, so that some of our seniors have these options versus just, a nursing home for some of their retirement years. So I would say collaborate with other operators, be creative in the ways that you're finding solutions, and getting involved in, your organizations to make sure that you're getting in front of the politicians to help them understand who we are and how important what we do is.
Love it. We need to give you a microphone to just throw down after that, Sevy. But well, Sevy, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure and an honor, just to sit down and talk with you. So thanks for joining me here today.
Oh my gosh, it's always fun to chat with you. You, again, also bring such great energy, and I can't wait to see you in person and hug you.
I can't wait either. Soon.
Yay!